A lot of times, especially around the holidays, you need a bowl of something sitting on a counter for people to grab and eat. One of the most popular ones, at least around here, is Chex Mix. If you've been living under a rock, Chex Mix is a combination of corn Chex, wheat Chex, rice Chex, pretzels, those little bagel chips that you either love or hate, and peanuts. Plus all these extra bonus ingredients that if you can pronounce half of them, I'll give you a blue ribbon or a shiny gold star. Your choice. Leave me a comment. Sounds real good except for the corn, the rice, the wheat, the pretzels, and the bagel chips. And whatever all this stuff is. But today, I'm gonna show you how to make a keto-friendly, low-carb version of Chex Mix that you can feel good about serving, and it's super easy too. Stick around. Even though the bagged Chex Mix exists, Chex has always given you the recipe to make it. But one of the things they use in there is seasoned salt. But some of the ones you find in the store contain things like MSG, anti-caking agents, and even maltodextrin. So apparently they like to season their salt with sugar. I'm going to show you how to make an easy seasoned salt that you can use not only for this recipe, but a ton of other things as well, and replace all the junk. So unfortunately today, because of the amount of ingredients that I'm going to have to use a bowl a little bigger than Old Yeller. But I didn't want her to feel left out, so she's just hanging out here chilling, watching the whole thing. The first thing you're going to need for this seasoned salt is 2 tablespoons of salt. I'm using the Redmond's Real Salt, but you can use whatever kind of salt you like. Just make sure that it's pink and you'll know all the minerals are still in it. Then I'm going in with 1 teaspoon of paprika. If you like to smoke paprika, you can use that instead. But for this recipe, it doesn't have that smoky flavor, so I'm going to use regular paprika. Then I'm going to go in with 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of coarse black pepper. You could use fine if that's what you have. The best black pepper to use is what you got. And I know this is the same measuring spoon, but I'm only using half of it. I'm going in with half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And yes, you do need it. Another half teaspoon of parsley. And last but not least, this is optional, but turmeric is going to add a nice color to it. And turmeric's just good for you. 1/4 teaspoon of that. Now the fun part. Put the lid on. And if you like to shake it, shake it. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. And if you like to stir it up. Little darling, stir it up. And that's what your seasoned salt should look like once you're done. We're going to use 1.5 tablespoons of that in this recipe. So to replace those bagel chips that you either love or hate, I'm going to use 3 pieces of my keto bread. I'll just toast these multiple times until they come out as crispy as I want, and I'll cut them into smaller pieces. You can also do this in a 350 oven and just flip them every 5 minutes or so until they get as crispy as you want. So to replace the corn Chex, the wheat Chex, and the rice Chex, what else would I use but pork rinds? I'm going to break these into pieces about the size of Chex, and then I'm going to use 4 cups of them for this recipe. And of course I couldn't go a whole video without using Old Yeller. So there we go. So now that I got my 4 cups of pork rinds, you can see why I can't use Old Yeller, because we got more ingredients to put in here and we got to be able to mix it up. So I'm going to take the biggest bowl I can find, and for comparison, there you go. So I'll just dump that right in. The next thing I'm going to add in is 1 bag of these cheddar cheese crisps. And just make sure you read your ingredients. It shouldn't have much more than these ingredients in it. I get this bag at Aldi. So this is about a 2-ounce bag. It's 1.95, so close enough. I'm going to dump those right in there. And I'm going to do a bag of these Parmesan crisps. I also get these at Aldi. And they are loaded up with protein and all the good things. And you can pause this if you want to see the nutritional information so you can calculate your macros. And just dump the whole bag of these in. And then you can use peanuts if you want to. I'm going to use these pecan halves because they're a little bit lower in carbs. I'm going to go in with a cup. So these are all the ingredients I'm gonna put the seasoning on and bake for the full amount of time. If you wanna see more keto snack recipes, make sure you hit the thumbs up down there and click that subscribe button, and anytime I do a new video, you'll know about it. And what am I gonna use to replace the pretzels with, you might ask? I'll give you one clue. Oh yeah, it's bacon. You know I love the Aldi bacon, but what I love more is some 99-cent bacon, so I picked this up at Ingles. So all I'm gonna do for this is just take this bacon, I'm gonna cut it in half. I'm gonna take each piece and just twist it up like this before I cook it. This is a great way to fit a ton of bacon on this microwave bacon grill, and it's gonna look like pretzels. Well, bacon pretzels. And once I've got all this done, I'll throw this in the microwave for 7 minutes until it's cooked. This is another ingredient that's not going in for the full time. We're just gonna brush it with a little bit of this mixture that I'm gonna show you right now. Now I'm gonna make the seasoning for the Chex Mix. That's what makes this the great snack that it is. I mean, nobody would just take wheat Chex, rice Chex, and corn Chex and just eat them. I mean, no. Even though all these ingredients are delicious by themselves, this is gonna kick it up to a whole nother level. That's why this Keto Chex Mix is better than the original Chex Mix. Each one of these components you can eat by itself. It's kicking it up to beyond great. So I'm just taking 2 sticks of butter. I'm just gonna put them in a pot here. The next ingredient I'm putting in is 1/3 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Now, if you don't like Worcestershire sauce for some reason, you can substitute like coconut aminos or something like that, but it just ain't gonna have the flavor that this does. And then super simple here, teaspoon of onion powder, teaspoon of garlic powder, and then a tablespoon and a half of this seasoned salt that we made earlier. This is the good stuff, I am telling you. So I'm gonna throw this on the stove, get all these ingredients real well acquainted in there, and I'll be back as soon as this is done. So this is a whole pack of bacon that I've used to make these little bacon pretzel thingies. And what I'm gonna do is just cut these in half again until they're about the size of the pretzels in the Chex Mix. So about that big. So I toasted this bread, then I cut it into like little croutons. And if you know the reference to that from my 80s TV show, let me know. You're probably my best friend. And what I'm gonna do is just paint these and the bacon with some of this melted Chex Mix seasoning. These are not gonna stay in there the whole time because they're already crunchy, as you can probably hear. I just wanna get a little bit of that flavor on there. So I'll just spread these out. Just hit that with a little bit of this Chex Mix seasoning. Oh man, I wish you could smell that. That's some strong smelling stuff, but I'm telling you, it is absolutely delicious. And then the same with these little breads. Just a nice little touch of paint there. You don't want to get them all soppy and wet. Just a little bit of flavor on there so they kind of match. And these are only going to go in for about the last 10 or 15 minutes that we bake this entire thing. And now here's the fun part. I'm just going to take all that melted seasoning, just pour it right over the top of this Keto Chex Mix. And why do I need a big bowl like this? This is why. But I'm just going to take 2 baking sheets, and in the filming of this video, I realized I do not have 2 baking sheets that are the same size. So I got a big one, I got a small one. And now I'm just going to spoon this out as evenly as I can onto these 2. Make sure it's one layer. You don't want it all piled up on there. Oh man, if you could smell this right now, I'm just telling you, I don't know what you'd do. Now I've preheated my oven to 250 degrees, and I'm going to put this in for 15 minutes. I'm going to check it after that. I'm going to stir it up, and the rack that's on the top is going on the bottom, and the one that's on the bottom is going on the top. I'm going to put this big one on the bottom rack. I'm going to put this small one on the top rack, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. So after that first 15 minutes, we'll take the big one out of the bottom, take the little one out of the top. I'm just going to give this a good mix around. Spread it out. It's going to be a little bit soggy. We got to cook that butter back out of it because we hydrated these cheese crackers all the way with butter. So they are soggy. Then do the same thing with this tray. Spread it back out. Reverse the order in the oven. Big on top, little on the bottom. And we're gonna do that one more time before we add these into the mix. See you in a few. So now it's been 45 minutes since these have been in here. I'm just gonna take them out and I'm gonna add in the croutons and the bacon. Just kind of do however many you think you need on each one. Now just give it one last stir. And these are nice and brown because of that Worcestershire sauce. I think this flavor just makes it so good. So I'll put these back in for another 15 minutes. I'll see you then and we'll test them out. So now these are done. What I'm gonna do is just put them on a cooling rack. And yeah, some of the little pieces and bits might fall through. But the main thing is, for most of this to cool right here on the rack. I'm just gonna pour the rest in my yellow bowl for a second. And I'll get another rack and put on top of this. I should be able to fit everything else right on here. And if a little bit falls through, no worries. I just want if there's any excess butter on there, it needs to drip through. And this needs to cool completely before we eat it. Now after this has cooled completely, then what? Well, I'm gonna dump what I can into Old Yeller. I'm gonna dump some on the counter. I'm gonna throw some into this little white bowl for me to eat. Let's try this out. If you don't have any of my keto bread, you can use your own store-bought keto bread or just leave those little bagel thingies out altogether, whatever you want to do. This stuff right here is absolutely delicious. If you think you're gonna like this Chex Mix and you want another keto snack, make sure you watch this video right here. You're gonna love it.